We have an update on when we might expect Tiana's Bayou Adventure to open, and I want you to stick around to help me figure out what is happening in the back of the Haunted Mansion queue. But for now, let's start by talking about what is starting to become some kind of alternate form of refurb season in July. Lots of jobs have popped up, along with maybe some new jobs that need to be picked up. Let's start on the Esplanade. You know, refurb season is supposed to be in January and February, but you know, this has become the slowest part of the year, the summer, so maybe that is right. Maybe they've got it right. Maybe they're timing these projects in the right time of year. We're looking at the construction walls here out in the Esplanade, and they are just as we left them last week. I will not be able to show you a view from the monorail this week, though, because the monorail was not operating at the time when we were there. It could be an issue with the heat once more. And that's another, the monorail is actually going down for refurb. The monorail will be closing on August 12th, and there's no date yet for the return. We talked about this last week, but I'm reminding you again here. On August 12th, that's in 10 days from when I record this, monorail will close, but not to fix the monorail. It's because the construction work on the retail building in downtown Disney is too close to the track. So they have to take down the monorail for a little while so they can finish the retail building in downtown Disney. We'll head down Main Street, where I found some crew doing a little painting at the Plaza Point Holiday Shop. This is not surprising. This is something that they do often, but again, that's not typically done in the summer, as I understand it, though this could be more in preparation for the 70th perhaps. But I've been watching them do a lot of these paint jobs. They pop up and disappear really quick. All of these baseboards and everything here have been repainted recently. That's part of the regular and routine upkeep of Disneyland, which I fully appreciate. I think it's great that they do that. And we need to see more of that. I like to see that around the parks. Because the best state the parks can be in is where you never notice when something isn't being kept up. That's bad. So the more that we can have this kind of, I don't want to ever have to see, I don't have to look at a thing and say, oh my gosh, that looks like it needs some repair. Somebody needs to get on that. Stay tuned. Like this, Tomorrowland. I'm kind of joking because this has been part of the landscape now for years. These blue walls are just, it's part of the entrance to Tomorrowland now. But that's supposed to be gone. That's supposed to be something else entirely where these walls are now. That was supposed to be a completed project. I joke about this, but that is a thing. Meanwhile, a lot of people were upset about Pirates of the Caribbean closing. Just as they opened Haunted Mansion, the Pirates of the Caribbean went down literally the same day. And I actually, I had a very spirited conversation with a guest in the park yesterday who recognized me, and he's like, I need to tell something, I need to rant. And I had to, like, you know, talk him off the ledge a little bit, but it was just down for 4 days. Not even 4 days, actually. But it's just paint and polish. They're trying to get things ready real quick. They put this off until they opened Haunted Mansion and then knocked it out real quick. You can see there's a bunch of guys down there. I took this footage on Monday. But there's some guys down there, just, you know, a lot of painting, a lot of finishing and that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, it was open today, this being Friday. They were up and running, full complement of guests. It was down for a little while. They were, I guess, having some issues getting it back up again. But by the time I left for the day today, Pirates of the Caribbean was fully operational. So this was just a quick refurb. Everything is back to fully operational. We'll go next door to Indiana Jones next. Indiana Jones will be closing on September 9th in just over a month. This again will be a quick, looks like a 5-day closure, reopening on September 14th. Usually a closure of just 5 days suggests that it's not a major operation. So I don't want to assume too much. You know, people get excited whenever they see Indiana Jones close and are like, oh my gosh, I hope they fix whatever it is that's, you know, broken, which is various and many. There are a long list of things that could be fixed at Indiana Jones. But those, you know, some of the bigger stuff, like the front doors and, you know, the ice machine, you know, the ice thing where the boulder's supposed to fall, etc. I mean, that's a big project. I'm guessing routine maintenance stuff that is not guest facing, you know, tightening screws and bolts and things like that. However, I kind of hoping, it's not going to happen, but I I kind of hope that at some point Disney puts some eyes on this situation. I love this part of the queue. I love the exit path at Indiana Jones as it runs alongside Jungle Cruise. I love to stop here sometimes and just watch the boats go by. I'll often pick up B-roll here. But one of the things that I've noticed in my recent visits is just how run down this whole situation is. You can see, look at that, the wooden, you know, like it's like a bridge or something here. The wood there is just completely rotted. This whole fake machinery thing is completely rotted. This box, completely rotted. And by the way, that is not by design. That is actual rot. If you were to stand out there, you could probably take the whole thing down. That entire structure, that entire display could probably be taken down with a stiff wind. You know, you might say, well, gosh, Dave, this is, you know, from the 1920s or whatever. It's supposed to look old and beat up. Well, actually, no, it's not. We're not excavating. You know, I can understand it looking like that in the actual dig site, and the stuff that they are digging might look like that. But this is supposed to be modern equipment in that era. So imagine if we lived in that era, you wouldn't have a beat up dock or, rotted boxes and things like that, rotted equipment. You would have modern looking equipment and newish looking crates. So it's a bad show. And I think they've probably gotten away with it because not a lot of people pay attention to it, but I do. I pay attention to it because I love this scene. It's one of my favorite places to hang out. I love the whole, this side, as I mentioned, this whole path that separates Jungle Cruise from Indiana Jones. And it would be nice if they could just put a few bucks to fix up some of this stuff. It would really brighten up that scene for a lot of guests, I believe. While we're here, by the way, let me talk about the Jungle Cruise. We reported a long time ago that this scene with the tiger there, just as the Jungle Cruise begins, they had changed it from a temple, from a decaying temple, to a dig site, an Indiana Jones themed dig site. And at first I thought, okay, that's a redesign. They're retheming it. They want to try to make some synergy between Jungle Cruise and Indiana Jones. But then others suggested, no, I think there's a repair happening behind that set. They're doing something behind that set, and this is to obscure that. And I thought, okay, that sounds reasonable. And then nothing at all has happened in that time. So I'm left to assume at this point, and again, I'm open to the conversation, but I'm left to assume at this point that this is the final product. This is how they want it to look. Is there nothing else happening here at the Jungle Cruise? Are they just going for synergy with the Tiger? They can leap over all of those boats? I don't know. Meanwhile, we've got the other two closures coming up. Don't forget, by the time you see this, the Disneyland Railroad will be closed. That's on August 5th. As well as Space Mountain. Both will be closing on August 5th. Neither have a reopening date. Or actually, I know, I take that back. Space Mountain does have a reopening date. Space Mountain will be back online on September 5th. And we're hoping that there are some visible changes that we can enjoy in that attraction. Although I expect it really the only one to be the blue lights. And one further reminder, great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Add that to the list of many things that are being worked on presently. It has been closed for a while and it still has no reopening date as of September 13th. That's the farthest we can see in the schedule, and it's closed until at least that date. Good news is that the reason why this is taking so long is because I feel like they're trying to figure out, again, just how much show they're going to give us. There is going to be this is going to be a different show. The good news is that we're getting some kind of new show. It's going to breathe new life into that theater, into that show. And for what it's worth, it could very well be a situation as they get ready for the 70th. All those plans, all the updates that they want to be doing to the park in preparation for the 70th need to start about now. Now's the time to start those. And that could be why we're seeing this sort of refurb season happening here in the middle of July. And I want to reiterate again something that I mentioned in a previous construction video, that I think that there might be some debate in the Disney offices about just how much Walt they want to have in the parks today, how relevant Walt is to Disneyland today. And I feel like I speak for at least 200,000 people who watch. Well, they're not all watching this show, but we have that many subs. But okay, 50, 60, 70,000 people. I don't know any of them who would say they want less Walt in the park. Disney, if you're on the fence about whether or not to put Walt Disney in this park, you absolutely should be putting more Walt Disney in this park. We want more Walt Disney. We want authentic, the real deal, the real Walt Disney. Bring him to Disneyland. Put him in Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln if you can. Put him anywhere you like. I want to hear Walt's voice at Disneyland. Let's get on the Disneyland Railroad. I mean, what better segue? Walt loved trains. Okay, so leaving the New Orleans Square station, I've been watching this situation develop over this wall now for a couple of weeks, months maybe, and there's something happening there. There's something kind of interesting happening right over that wall right there, and hopefully we'll get another look at it because I can't see anything from here, but I just want to note that right now. There's something happening there, and I don't know what it is, but I'm really curious about what it might be. Let's look at Critter Country, and there is just, those aren't trees. They're not trees, and they're probably not speakers either. Those poles that have been, there are numerous poles out here now. I keep getting, people talk to me in comments, and they suggest what they could be. I like this one the most. That's Q. That's Q, and those are going to be coverings. Umbrellas, perhaps, or something like that. Somebody was mentioning that you could see the actual little loops in there where they can connect all that stuff together. So they're going to cover this queue. Now, one of the reasons why this wasn't obvious to me at first, or why I didn't really think of that, because it doesn't really present in the model. If you look at the model from D23, which we've been referencing a lot recently, it's just trees and queue. There was no shade, no coverings, no awnings there. I mean, I'm not saying that this model has to be completely accurate, and perhaps they don't want to put those on there because then you can't see what they're doing. But there you go. It's considering all that, that's just a lot. That's a lot of poles, and it's actually starting to form into the shape of a queue. So it very well could be that is what's happening there. And by the way, there are 100 guys on the ground out there. There was a whole bunch of different little mini projects being worked on at the same time. There was quite a racket, and it was pretty impressive to see how quickly they're working on this and how rapid this whole thing is happening. Let's get a little closer look. Let's go back, zoom in a little bit, and then we can see there's the briar patch. One of those windows is being closed up, and you can see the brick wall, or the concrete wall in the back, is getting ready to become that boulder decorated wall. And if I go back once more, I don't know if I can see it correctly here, but in the top left of your frame, way in the top corner, which it'll leave frame in a second as we pass by, I believe, or it'll leave the our view. That's new concrete. They have poured, it looks like, new concrete in that area. We're going to get a look on the Mark Twain again and see what we can see from there, but it looks like they are already moving into concrete phase here. And as I understand it, they're actually progressing quite briskly on the interiors of the gift shops of Ray's Berets and Critter. Is ours Critter Co-op? I can't remember now. The two gift shops are getting somewhere, although they got slowed down a little bit by some faulty work, but they're catching up. Here's the reverse view looking at the entrance to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The green and yellow paint, obviously, we talked about that last week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch this well, but I saw it with my eye. There is something really invasive happening at the way in the back, and if I'm ready, I might have to have the camera Oh no, I'm not going to get another shot. The train is closed. This is it. Maybe I can't do it. But okay, way in the back there, you know, where the exit is to Pooh Corner, and where I used to get those shots of Tiana's tunnel. Yeah, you just can't see. You know what? Let's try to get a closer look on that again. I only got a brief look at it, but if we zoom in a little bit, that looks kind of invasive. There's something happening way back there just before you hit backstage that almost looked, I thought it was a wood chipper at first, that white machine there. It's some kind of heavy machinery, and it's on its side a little bit, but pointed up, and it looks like there's a tree coming out of it. And I thought that they had put a tree in it to chip it down, but I don't think that's right. Because, well, we'll see why that's the case later on when we get on the Mark Twain. But I think they're actually planting this tree. They might be planting a tree back there. But there is something really hardcore happening back there. That wasn't all. There was a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff that we can't see from the train because we're going too fast, and the camera can't react quick enough. And it's by the time I saw what I saw, it was too late, and we were already leaving. Yeah, what is going on back there? I think they might be putting in a new tree back there. I think. Now, forgive me, but I'd like to take a quick break from this construction update to let you guys know about GetAwayToday. You may already know that they are our preferred vacation planner, travel agent for our fans who are looking to book a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or more. Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, you name it. And I'd like to think that we know them very well. We've met many of them personally, and we know how kind they are and how really tremendously good they are at their jobs. And that's why I'm confident in referring our fans to Getaway, because I am confident that you will be treated just as well as we have. If you're planning a trip to a Disney park or Universal or anything else of that nature, if you're planning a trip soon, use the link in our description so that they know that we sent you, and so that we know that you were sent to them through one of our YouTube videos. And in so doing, you can be confident that you're going to be getting some of the best possible service from people who know everything there is to know about planning a trip to the Disney parks. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the show. So that's Critter Country for now. We'll come back to the Mark Twain a little bit to look and see what we can find there. We'll get off the train. Fantasyland, this thing is still happening. Whatever this project is here at the Fantasyland Theater, it's still going on. I have not seen or heard any news on what this could be. But again, I feel like it's just concrete. And by the way, this Pixar Fest is ending also on August 5th. So we'll have nothing. There's nothing happening. Nothing happening at the Fantasyland Theater. There's nothing on the schedule. There's no rumor. There's no nothing. Speaking of nothing happening, there's also nothing happening at the Golden Horseshoe. Nothing happening here. I popped in here as I want to do. It's an empty stage. Stage for performers only. If only there were performers to put on the stage. Very upsetting. I would like to see that fixed. I would like to see that fixed, and I would like to see I would just like to see more entertainment in the parks, if you don't mind. Please pay your entertainers. Let's get on that, Mark Twain. Texas Tech was open, thankfully, even though it was hot as heck. So I'm not sure about that heat thing, but whatever reasons they had, it's open today. And the good news is we can't really see a whole lot of what's going on back there. This is the Magnolia Park section that's attached to Tiana's Palace. The good news is we can't see a whole lot, which means they're not doing a lot, which means they're getting ready to do something. The bad news is we can't see a whole lot. But I take the fact that there's very little activity going here, very little heavy machinery, as a good sign we're getting somewhere. Trying to see if I can figure out what's going on with the gift shop, because there's, the walls have been realigned because they've opened up the Haunted Mansion, but I wasn't able to pick up where it would be. Where we're looking now is actually to the right of where the gift shop would be. I'm looking in the wrong place. That's right up against the barrier, or the border of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I think that the gift shop is more through that tree there on the left third of frame. Yeah, behind that other green wall there. So we'll cast our gaze to the left in the part of the Haunted Mansion queue that's being worked on there, just on the other side of the entrance threshold, which is fantastic. Love to see that thing open again. This is about where all that new queue is, the Magnolia Park section of the new Haunted Mansion queue. Difficult to pick up anything there, but okay, so here's coming into view. There's those wooden supports and the black whatever they're setting up back there. That's what we could see from the train. What is that? What do they I feel like it's some kind of faux facade. Oh my gosh. Tell me what that is. Okay, I got to go back. We got to stop. Pause there for a second. What is that? Because in the concept art, one of the things that I noticed when I looked at this concept art is in that very far right, I don't know, 10th or so of the frame is what looks like the Haunted Mansion, the building, the actual Haunted Mansion itself. But what's actually there, if you were to go on site and see it in real life, would be just that, the dirt hill, the berm that the train travels through. Are they trying to... I wondered why they made the concept art look that. I thought that was because they were just trying to sort of evoke the idea that, they wanted to give the essence of the mansion there and just sort of remind folks that that's where we are, that that's the Haunted Mansion right next to this queue space. Not a literal thing. But what if they're trying to build something that sort of is a faux continuation of the mansion? That seems really terrible to me, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But they're doing something back there. And what it's interesting is that no matter what they're doing, what it is doing is covering, it's obscuring, it's hiding the berm. That wall, behind that wall is the berm. And the berm is where they would previously, the tombstones that you would see up on the hill, especially during Halloween season. That was always like a cool thing. We'd go up there and read the tombstones up there, and it would be decorated for Halloween, etc. Are they going to hide the berm? I don't know. It's an interesting shape. It's an odd shape, because it's not just one continuous height. There's varying heights, and then the additional 2x4s suggest that they've got other plans there as well. I'd be really curious to know what's going on there. I caught my breath as we continue. I caught my breath there because I was about to talk about that, and then I saw something pop into frame, and that's a wall. Look at that. There's a wall. That's a wall being built, but it's in a different direction. It's horizontal. In this concept art, we can see, the sort of garden setting. There's the bandstand for Tiana's Palace on the left, Disneyland Railroad in the rear of the frame, the trees, that's lovely. And to the right is a fountain and a brick. That is a wall separating, a brick wall separating this part of the New Orleans Square from Haunted Mansion proper. A dividing wall in the concept art. That wall is running perpendicular to the wall in that concept art, if my eyes are not deceiving me. I'm excited to see some vertical construction here. I'm very excited to see that. And perhaps it's a trick of my eyes, but I don't understand that wall and how it relates to the concept art that we've seen, unless I'm looking unless that's still part of the Haunted Mansion queue. That could be it. Okay, back to the right to see if I can't find the crypt exit. And I think that's it, just leaving frame now on the left. Yeah, I think so. So it looks like they're getting ready to drop. Gosh, maybe they are going to build it. The Haunted Mansion gift shop. How quickly could they build that gift shop if they were doing it from scratch, from ground up here? Because I do see... I thought maybe they might just, plug and play. They might just drop it whole. But I wonder if they could build that in, 2 or 3 months? I don't know. So that's Haunted Mansion. Check this out. That's water in the flume. I mean, they've been doing. This is the first time I've actually seen it. I've seen water, but this is the first time I've ever put eyes on boats in the water. There it is. Boats in the water at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. That's exciting. I promised in the intro that we would talk about an update on when we might expect Tiana's to open. The expectation is that we're 4 months behind Tiana's at Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom had a 4-month head start, but Magic Kingdom is running into some issues, some technical issues, and the ride keeps breaking down at Magic Kingdom. So that's, they want to try to prevent that kind of thing from happening at the launch at Disneyland. They want to learn from those mistakes, obviously. This is why we don't have a date yet for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. At least that's my thinking. That's my logical thinking, is that's why we don't have a date yet. At this point in construction, where we're having log testing and, things are, the mountain is done pretty much, the exteriors. We had a date at Magic Kingdom. They had already announced the reopening date, and they kind of rushed it to meet that date, I think. So I think the idea is to not promise a date so that they're not bound, and that if they are late, they can just be late, that there's no promised date that they have to arrive at. So that I I know you're hoping for a date so that you can start making your plans. It's good news and bad news. The good news is, or I should say the bad news is, we don't have a date, and it's possibly going to be later than we thought. But the good news is it's so that they can make it right. It's so that they're trying to learn from the mistakes that are happening at Magic Kingdom, the technical issues that they're having there. And a lot of it has to do with sensors. It used to be, attractions, the animatronics would just run on a loop constantly. They would just always be on. But now with modern technology, they promise to make everything better, but it's actually kind of makes things worse. The technology today, where they can install trigger sensors on the attraction, that once a boat hits that sensor, it triggers the animatronic to begin its cycle, to begin its performance cycle. And there are issues with those things not triggering correctly, and it causes a whole e-stop every time that happens, because there are certain parts of the show you just if it doesn't work, it's not a show. It has to work, so they stop everything. So to that end, that's probably why we don't have a date. And so where I thought it might be September, maybe it isn't that. Maybe we're later than September, which is just as well, because Critter Country is not ready to go yet anyway. Obviously, I don't know how long it takes to get all that concrete and queue stuff built. It's probably quicker than you think, but we still got a ways to go. I'm okay. I would rather them get it right from the start than try to rush the opening. Look what happened at Pirates of the Caribbean when they reopened after that long refurb. It broke down like 15 times that first day a couple years ago. What was that, 22? Was it 22? Yeah, 22. And then just recently, Toontown. You guys remember Toontown, right? And how smoothly that launch went. Luckily, those guys who ran that project, the Toontown redesign, I mean, it's great, it's beautiful, but they didn't plan well. They're not here anymore. They're doing some other gig. Let's look at Critter Country now from the Mark Twain, and there's a lot of activity down there, man, just like we saw from the train. A lot of little projects going. We talked about working on those sectioned off areas just over the scrim. Okay, so there's the tree. That tree that's in the planter right in the middle of frame. It's that same color, orange and green. That's almost identical to the tree that I saw on its side at the back of the queue. So I feel like that's a new tree that they're planting here. Not necessarily, not one that they've dug up, but one that they're going to plant. And I want to assume that that's what they're doing in the rear of the queue also, or the rear of the land. We'll take a left, look down the path towards Haunted Mansion. They've got the walls up again there. They still have not poured concrete yet, but it looks like they're getting ready to on the far side of things. A lot of activity on that far end down there. Those guys are really going at something down there. And then as the rest of the path comes into focus, oh, I've left. Okay, You can see rebar. There's rebar down in the ground where they're getting ready to pour concrete. There's new concrete. That looks like new concrete here. I'm pointing at the now lower right corner of the frame. So that looks like new concrete, and then they're getting ready to put in some concrete there wherever those guys are standing, and you can see that they've built those two sort of sectioned off planter areas with boulders. And there's going to be several of those, I think. I wonder if they're using the boulders to create the definition of the actual queue space. That would be kind of neat. I like that. I like using natural elements like that to create queue space as opposed to rails and chains and fences and things like that. I would prefer it if they could figure that out. It's the difference between having an artist design a queue and an engineer design a queue. An engineer will put the rails down, you know, an Imagineer, an artist will find some other more cool way to define the path. There again, okay, we're back on the path, and you can see now the rebar on the ground, so they're very close to pouring concrete there. And you can also see it looks like they've set up some sort of pattern in between the two sections there. I don't think that they're that far off on Critter Country. I don't. I think that they could actually finish this in short order. A couple months maybe. Took a peek over the wall from the Disneyland Railroad just to see what I could find. I'm hoping to see that concrete wall that I couldn't figure out from the Mark Twain, and I can kind of see, I think that's it on the far left frame, I'm not sure, but they sure are getting ready to put a whole bunch of stuff down. Kind of like those Silva cells, which I think are still not being used. Still looking for bottles. We should be at that point where the bottles appear at the top of the drop, but I don't see anything there. I can't see anything. It's really difficult now. The views of this part of the attraction are slim. I missed it this week on the Mark Twain because I was looking at the boats. I don't see any bottles yet. Okay, we'll go to downtown Disney. Check in on a few projects down there. You've got the fountain out in front of Tortilla Joe's and Splitsville. It's still behind Scrim. We can't look through to see the fountain because they put the second Scrim up, so I can't see anything in there. And Tortilla Joe's is, I guess, well, you know, they can't demo Tortilla Joe's until they're done doing whatever it is they are with the fountain. They'll take the fountain down first, finish that, and then they'll start probably putting Scrim around this building so they can demo it. Again, that is my understanding. They will be demoing the Tortilla Joe's building. This is the part of the project that I was talking about that's causing the monorail to close. That building, the construction work is going to start getting too close to the monorail track, and so causing it to be closed. But no visible progress here at Parkside. I can't find anything worth noticing here, although I did notice that wall that we observed last week. Got a better look at it here. I just don't understand the thematic design of this wall, which is just appended to the breeze block wall that for the actual retail building is completely incongruous with the design. One is a mid-century modern, and the other is modern, like strictly modern. And I don't understand what that can't be a permanent. I don't know how they skipped theming class that day, I suppose. I don't know. And then over here at Din Tai Fung, we arrived at this point at about 11:30. The restaurant opens at 11:30, so there were a number of people rope dropping Din Tai here at 11:30. Very popular joint, that is. Oh my gosh, this could be a big story if if we wanted it to be. Earl's Sandwich is open. It's literally open. Over the last weekend, they were doing a friends and family type situation, but now it's completely wide open. I can walk up there and place an order. I can get myself a sandwich, and pick it up over here, and they've added a bunch more tables, more so than we saw even last week. More tables, more umbrellas. But I'm worried that it's just gonna be empty. Like, I didn't see any sort of energy out here about Earl's being open. And I'm hoping that the people find it back there. I have to keep reminding you guys, if you love Earl's, go to the back of downtown Disney. Now, one of the reasons why people may not be finding Earl's is because it's still open. The one next to World of Disney is still open. The Earl's Sandwich near the Esplanade is still open. It's currently open now in 2 locations. Now, it could be that they're trying to ease people in, perhaps, you know, kind of like break the news to them. I didn't see any signage, by the way. No signage saying, hey, if you want the world's greatest hot sandwich, go to the backside of downtown Disney. I didn't see anything like that. But I would expect Earl's Sandwich out here to, you know, now that they got that thing open, we should expect this one to be closed. And we did it. That's our construction update for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed. That was fun, huh? Exciting stuff. I need help. What's that wall? Need to know what that wall is back there at the Haunted Mansion. Let us know in the comments. And then if you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. You can follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. Otherwise, thanks for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.